The Todd Shapiro Show.
Time to hit the button!
On Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
All right, do we have Silas Garrison on?
Hey, Todd, how are you doing?
Good, man. I'm real good. Silas Garrison, the CEO of HealthSpace, and everyone knows that we've been working with you now for a few months. HS is the ticker symbol. People can find it at CSE, publicly traded stock. And really, fascinating stuff, what you do in terms of your cloud-based platforms and, helping governments be more efficient. And I love catching up with you. Peter, by the way, full disclosure, I think are you an investor?
I've owned HealthSpace shares for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got an investor here. My co-host, my buddy.
Awesome.
Yeah. Comedian and investor. How are things going with the company?
Things are going great. We just wrapped up a really exhausting week with a lot of new sales development. So I can't say that things have never. Let me say it. Things have never been better. It's very good. It's very busy, but yeah. Things are going great.
Congratulations on the Florida contract. Is that what you guys call it in-house, the Florida contract? I don't know how you refer to it.
Yeah, it is. We call it the Florida contract. Actually, a lot of our clients, as a small, funny anecdote, a lot of our clients, the larger ones, will actually nickname the project internally on their side. So we haven't learned what that's going to be for Florida yet, but for now, we just call it the Florida contract.
Nice. Do you want to remind people about what that contract was?
Yeah, so we signed a contract with the state of Florida, a little over $3 million U.S. Total contract value on that. So it's a very big sale for us. It's going to be over 1,000 governmental employees using our software on a day in and day out basis to essentially regulate private businesses all across the state.
That's unbelievable, man. And then since that, you do that, and you work with a ton of different governments essentially, and you work from Canada all the way down in the U.S. And when you announce something like that, like the state of Florida, their government, do you start getting other government agencies giving you a call up, going, hey Silas, how can you help us be more efficient?
Yeah, actually, it's pretty interesting. We've started to see, we've only signed the contract with Florida, about 30 or so days now, but we've started to see a real uptick in the validity of, infield requests. And when we mention, for instance, we've been chasing several large deals this week. I can't actually mention, but, when we mention, we're working with the state of Florida, just signed the contract, went through a large bidding process, and it definitely adds a lot of validity and gets a lot of eyeballs on us.
How stressful is that being the CEO of a publicly traded company when you get close to deals and you got to chase these deals and you get them? And, obviously it would be, not only is it just great for business, potentially great for the stock. Is that as a CEO, is that a stressful time for you?
Todd, I've been doing this for so long. It doesn't really stress me out. It definitely is always a gut check. They're like, oh man, we're right on that, the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
All we have to do is just close this deal. So the interminable waiting period, sometimes it comes with government decision-making processes. It can stress you out, but I've been doing this for so long. It really is kind of just normal course for me.
I like that. See, that's, I might be the CEO of a company one day, but I feel like I would be stressed out.
just like from a guy who's like a retail investor standpoint, do you consider, when I look at HealthSpace, do you still consider it a young company? Where do you consider it in its lifespan?
Yeah, that's a great question, Peter. So because HealthSpace has been around so long, people get a little confused as to okay, so how do I look at this? The best lens to look at HealthSpace is a high growth startup.
Right.
A well-established company, great client base. Some of the clients have been around for 20 years. But at the same time, really in an inflection point, especially since I took CEO late last year, really reformulating a lot of our strategies. We've got a brand new product line that really is the best in class, best in the industry. And so it's best looked at through the lens of a high-growth startup. So every one of these new contract sales is tremendous momentum for us. So that would be how I would say from a retail investor standpoint, look at it as a company that's really just ramping up, really about to just hit some home runs.
And how do you, Silas, how do you keep up that sort of competitive edge, being one step ahead of the competition, really?
It's what I've always done, Todd. I love software. I love creating innovative products. And having worked in the government space for almost 20 years myself, it's something that I never get tired of, So always keeping a pulse on the industry, but also working directly with our clients really gives you like this breath of fresh air each time. There's always new ways to do things. There's always better ways to accomplish the same task. And so being innovative is in part just staying really close to our customer base. And then also just going out and about and making sure that you're, keeping up with the best in breed of technology, no matter if it's for government or just generic cloud-based stuff. It's one of those things that I live and breathe and I love. And it translates directly into the passion that we have for building amazing products.
You must be continually learning then. I mean, it's such a technology being such a fast-paced world. Is it ever frustrating for you, Silas? Sometimes it's too fast?
I don't actually think so, in part because part of building technology and knowing that I got my start, doing programming, it's really about solving problems and building puzzles. And as long as you love the challenge and the way that we put it for our team members in terms of defining the right mindset is that problems shouldn't scare you. They should excite you. And for all of my team members, it's that way. For myself personally, it's very much that way. So, ever-changing, rapidly changing technology, it's a problem to be solved, and it should excite you and should not scare you.
Which do you guys have your sights more on the U.S. side now, since what just happened recently? Or are you still sort of making inroads in Canada? And if so, which industries in Canada and which governments or which territories?
So, we're always on the hunt, so to speak. And the U.S. is just a broader market. So Obviously our sights are set very heavily on the U.S., but we love helping government agencies. We love helping them operate more efficiently, and we love providing the tools that help them more efficiently regulate and keep people safe. So to say it's, U.S. versus Canada, I would say it's equal. The U.S. is just a much bigger marketplace.
Is Canada
so we spend a lot of time?
Sorry, Silas. Is Canada not more? What's the right word I'm looking for? Integrated? Like, there's so many different agencies in the U.S. Does that make sense? Or am I mistaken?
No, it's interesting. Canada has a lot of varying differences from the U.S. in terms of it's got some better standardization, some more uniformity. But when you get down to the local level, well, you're in, Peterborough, Ontario, or Toronto, Ontario. Right. Like those two different cities, one's obviously much bigger than the other, but they do things differently. And even if you just take a little skip over to Kingston or something like that, they also implement things differently. They have different work processes.
Right.
The best way to look at it is if you have a company that's doing the same thing, you create business cards, and all you do is sell business cards. You do things differently than the next guy. Even if your end product, your end goal is the same, you don't always do things exactly the same. You've got different people that work there, different mentalities, different personalities. And so, even though there's uniformity within it, it's always a different challenge each time.
Gotcha. Wow, that makes the job that much tougher, though.
I was going to say, do you ever see it sort of consolidating, though, where it could be on where governments from different towns, different cities, different countries start to have some sort of uniformity in cloud-based platforms such as yourselves?
That's one of the things that we work heavily with our clients on. It's not just that we offer a product. We're experts in the field, quite frankly. I've been doing environmental public health for 20 years, been working with agriculture departments for a couple of decades. And so when we go into an agency, we're able to not just offer them a digitized solution, a cloud-based product, but we're able to actually offer up best recommended practices because we've seen it all. We've seen it in Ontario. We've seen it in, Colorado. It doesn't matter where. So we're able to also offer up some standardizations that actually help our clients move forward, which is also an exciting part of it.
And what about global domination? Is that ever on the target?
Yes, we want global domination.
Global domination.
When do we want it now?
Well, a lot of investors don't understand just how big the marketplace is.
Yeah.
And within the U.S. alone, just say in the U.S. alone, there is hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue up for grabs. And so I would love to go global, but it would be just such a divergence from what we have yet to achieve here. And we are keenly focused on getting every piece of contract and availability we can. I was always told by my dad, winners focus and losers spray. And so we are targeted, we're lasered in, and we're focused on grabbing what is before us before going too big, too fast,
Yeah, well said. And any updates on myhealthdepartment.com?
Yeah, so that is moving along very, very well. So we've been working on the fintech element of that. So we're creating a digitized payment platform for online and mobile payments for the business operators. And that's a huge element of what My Health Department is. So we've been making a lot of strides. We're actually working with, our partners at PayPal to get the elements of the product actually implemented, and it's moving along at a very fast pace. And we definitely intend on having more of that launched by this summer.
And maybe refresh some who don't know what My Health Department is, and we haven't really talked to you in about a month, what that might be.
Yeah, sure. So myhealthdepartment.com being a platform that's meant for the business operators to interact with all the regulatory data that is collected through our application. So our end customer right now is the government agencies, but there's a plethora of data that really kind of belongs back to the business operators. If you're a business operator, you have to have a permit. You also get inspections. You have violations. You have things you need to rectify. So we're going to digitize all that information to a seamless and cohesive fashion into one single web platform that, quite frankly, just doesn't exist right now. And we're going to serve that up for free to the business owners, and thus creating a bridge. And HealthSpace really can become the digital bridge between the public and the private sectors through this very unique and robust web platform.
Very excited. Silas Garrison is joining us, the CEO of HealthSpace, HS being their ticker symbol on the CSE, and always do your due diligence. Go and check it out. When you hear stories of like these, data breaches and the Facebooks or collecting even information in people's data and stuff, privacy concerns, does that frustrate you as a programmer?
Absolutely. There should never be a time when sensitive information such as a password, whether it's your password or a user's you're storing, should never be stored in what, in tech speak is called, we call it plain text. Like, we encrypt all our stuff. We encrypt, then we hash it. That's just a fancy way of saying there's no way you're really going to ever be able to make sense of what the actual password is. Should you breach our firewalls, get into the database, actually see the information. So, yeah, it frustrates me a lot because, from the smallest startups I've worked with all the way to large enterprise Fortune 500 banks, everybody encrypts their information. So when someone like Facebook has a list of passwords just sitting out there for any developer to look at, it's dumbfounding to me.
It really is wild. I would imagine with governments working with you and working so closely with so many, really, that's part of the reason is that you are a very secured system. And how much work goes into that on the daily?
A lot. We are very proactive. We've got, alert monitoring systems out the wazoo. We've got our IT team that's constantly keeping track of, new vulnerabilities, new viruses that are out there just lurking. And so it is no end to the effort that we put into protecting this information. And for some of our clients, like, for instance, the state of Virginia, we continually have to produce a report about what we've thwarted, what we've done to ensure that the uptime was adequate for our cloud application, all the way down to, the things that intrusion attacks that may have happened and how we thwarted them. So we produce a lot of reports, and we make sure that we're on top of it. So it's very laborious, but in a good way, because it keeps us ahead of the game and it makes sure that we protect our clients' data, which is one of the utmost priorities for us.
I just forgot my question because I looked at Peter, and then Peter gave me a smirk, and then I forgot what I was going to ask you. No, I guess because we're talking about the data breaches and everything, and just like so much of this world right now is about us maybe not understanding what we do on a day-to-day online with informations, and obviously it's government's jobs to work with companies like yours to make sure that everything is protected, and that's what you guys do so well. How much onus would you put just on the regular civilian to be maybe a little bit more careful online?
So there's a lot of onus that people take for granted. There's so many websites now are moving to, things that better protect the consumer, because the consumer doesn't really get it. They go into and register for an account like your Gmail or whatever, and they ask you questions like reset password for like what's your favorite animal or something like that. And it's easy to get that information. Most people love dogs. So, like, if that's your secret password or question to reset your password, you need to be a little bit more trickier than that. You need to be more complicated, because if I just wanted to reset your password and all I had to figure out your answer to the question is dogs, that's not very secure. So being more proactive and thinking about, okay, how easy would it be for someone to access my information if they wanted to reset my password or hack my account? How easy would that be? And I think everybody needs to actually consciously think about it. But most people, they think that the website somehow protects them, but it's really not true. You're only as good as your best protection, which is your own answers, your own password.
Go with platypus. That's my
platypus.
Yeah.
Okay,
Platypus.
now I know how
Very
to get
strange
your email
animal.
account.
That's true.
You're not supposed to say that on the radio.
I'm kidding. I use dog. I use dog.
Use dog.
Yeah.
Silas, I'm really happy to catch up with you. It's an amazing company, HealthSpace, and you being the CEO of it. And I wish you the best of luck closing out some more great big deals. It sounds like you're on your way there. And thank you for, when you're whatever government you're working with, for those people who are, a part of any of this, we know that you're secure, and that's a good part. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Silas.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Healthspace.com.
Bye.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.